Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 38 of the DKM podcast. I'm here with my buddies Danny and Marcos. How are you guys doing today?
It's hot.
Yeah, it's really hot.
It is really
It's
hot.
really
It
hot.
is
I
really
love
hot.
it.
But
Fixing
you
my
know
car.
what's cold? The
No.
blizzard thickens.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh, that was
You with your
damn. That was that was a
you
good
with
one.
your stupid one-liners. You want me to make out with you or some bullshit like
Maybe.
that?
Yeah, it's gonna be great for the merchandising.
The Blizzard thinking.
The blizzard thickens, man.
Let's go to DQ then.
Oh my god, yes. That sounds really good.
I've never been to a DQ though.
I've been twice, and I don't think I ever eaten anything there.
There's a Dairy Queen grill and chill like right up the road from my house.
I think there's also like Dairy Queens that only serve the ice cream
cream,
portions. Yeah.
So
That's probably what I'm
if
thinking.
you
Like
go to the ice
whenever I
skating
think
arena
about,
around here, that you'll see it.
yeah, I know where it is. I just never been to like ever had to drive to go there. But I think it's probably because they only serve ice cream. I don't think they actually serve like
No,
food.
they don't. But the one down here does.
Ah, okay, that explains.
Always want to try the cheeseburgers.
So Kenny, tell me about this blizzard that's going on.
Oh
in...
my god! And why has it thickened? Well, let's talk about how the HR head, what was it? The department head of HR.
The CEO.
Well, yes, the CEO left, but or
The
stepped
president
down.
left as
The
well.
president.
Yeah. Yeah, the president.
And then the HR head also left.
Yeah, because he was getting wrecked. Also because of the Cosby sweet thing.
Yep,
it was crazy.
That's exactly what it was.
Just recently, I think like a couple days, like about almost a week ago, Blizzard was hit with a second lawsuit by investors because their argument is they would have never invested if they knew this investigation was going on, which was been going on for 2 years now, but Blizzard has been keeping it hush hush, especially around the office. So investors are suing over that, and secondly, they were also suing over these obviously these misconduct allegations happening. They would have never invested either if they knew this was going to happen or if this was happening because this is too spicy for them. So they would have never invested. So not only they're getting hit by a lawsuit, not only by the state where the HQ is stationed at, they're getting hit by another lawsuit by their investors, and now. Much like how a lot of people do when it comes to like the mob, like the what was that mob rule or the mob rage, a whole bunch
Mob mentality?
not mob mentality, but the mob rage. They're going for all their sponsors. They're complaining to T-Mobile, Coca-Cola, Kellogg, State Farm, and they're just these companies are backing out. So, yeah, Blizzard is backing out in such a way that it would make EA proud the way they're
If
doing
there's
everything.
one thing I've learned about Resident Evil 4, if you want to take down an evil conglomerate, you don't attack PR-wise or their marketing. You attack their stocks and their investments, because that's how the umbrella company falls apart in Resident Evil 4. It's just, their stocks went down after Resident Evil 2 and 3. The incident was too hard to cover.
But
But,
here's the thing, though. Like, so when the Gillette thing came out, where like it tells people to not to be like too manly or whatever.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Everyone thought like, oh look, their stocks are going down, whatever. Most of these things, like even if it's bad PR, it's still good PR. Most of these,
Don't bounce back.
it always
Yeah.
bounce backs. It always does.
Yeah, like I have never met a schmuck who complained about that. Stop buying Gillette. Like I could even go to their bathroom and be like, yeah, dude, like you were just complaining about the shit like months ago, and it's like, oh, but these stocks, the company's gonna go out the business. How dare they tackle masculinity and and it's just like, hey man,
Chief.
that ain't gonna happen. You look, it like Twitter and like most of these situations, people get like all riled up for like a week when it's popular, and then they forget about it the next day. Because they're fucking products at the end of the day. Like, they don't really care about a political statement, no matter what they say. Both from the buyer and from the companies.
That's the thing. So like obviously what Blizzard's going through, it's completely just it's way bigger. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it's different. I mean, if we look at their stocks now, let's look at Blizzard, and this also affects Activision in a way, because obviously even though this is happening
They're
in
tied together.
yeah, even though this is happening in Blizzard's neck of the woods, they're still tied together by the hip. So right now, it looks like their stocks is stabilizing now after it went down to $80-something. I don't know. It seems like right now they're doing just fine. The
It's 82 right now.
the lowest their things has been was 79 back in August 5th, but it's coming back up. So I wonder, I wonder what's the plan on all this. I wonder how these lawsuits are going to be handled. I wonder how everything's going to happen. So all I'm interested in mostly is really like who's gonna get the book thrown at them. Obviously, the devs need some sort of compensation. There's going to be different changes when it comes to HR.
Management's just gonna get a whole rework.
Right, and not only just rework, but like I'm pretty sure they're gonna set up where you can go above the heads of like you can skip one tier of management and go to the next one to see if you can do anything. But the thing is, like with all this nonsense happening, all these people who were involved in these Cosby suits, they're in different companies now. They're in different upper echelons of different companies. So the culture is still being perpetuated in other companies, not just in Blizzard. But much like how with Star Wars Battlefront 2, where people really started to hate pay to win, but then again, ironically, they still play like sports games like FIFA and Madden and 2K. They're starting to see like, hey, like loot boxes for like pay to win and or like just pay to what do you call this, to reduce the amount of hours, to progress. There you go. It's not something a lot of people want. So it looks like obviously with Star Wars Squadrons and also Jedi Fallen Order, EA has learned some way with their Jedi games or their Star Wars games, but I'm really interested with what Blizzard is going to do now, how they're going to change everything, how they're going to move on forward. But this is the update for all things Blizzard, the nonsense that's Blizzard, the dumpster fire that is Blizzard. I'm not sure if you guys know anything else that's been happening because that's all I know.
I haven't really been following up with the story. I still got like the basic broad strokes and things like that. I haven't been really like I only hope that a lot of things change to make the company better, and not just only in their games but also in the treatment of their employees, because it's not just only a Blizzard thing. Like generally speaking, like I've heard horror stories about people who do work for like these gigantic corporations and yet they still have to punch in those 80 hours or horribly get mistreated or like they get harassed. It's pretty fucking bonkers out there. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah,
I the only thing I know is that the HR had left because they were getting so much flack from the community and obviously the investors, which just makes the company look worse in my opinion.
Right. It's sort of, it kind of reminds me of when Mark was bringing up the like attacking their like sponsors and stuff. Do you guys remember when CNN basically blackmailed a teenager who made a meme of Trump? And like they threatened that like they can dox his information if he recants his apology.
Oh yeah, when this guy on Twitter, was it? He made a meme about
But Trump retweeted a tweet from Reddit, and CNN hired this piece of shit investigator to find this, to basically dox him. And then like that's the interesting thing though, no one knows exactly which is true or not. So people started spreading this information saying, "Hey, the kid's actually 15." So and then CNN is like, "Well, he's not actually 15, but you have to dox him in order to prove that he's not 15." So there was like this big plan where it's like they're gonna go to like review bomb their app, go and inform all their sponsors and things like that. But yeah, now that shit always rubbed me the wrong way, and it's always been that's always grossed me the fuck out. But yeah, that's essentially how you get these corporations. You hit them where it hurts. They're bottom dollar. If you really want to make a message, you stop supporting them, and there you go.
What's ironic with the whole CNN thing that you covered, it was for those who don't know, it's a meme where on Trump was obviously a celebrity before he became a president. So he spent...
Well, no, this was after he was a president.
No, I'm talking about... I know this meme came out, but I'm trying to explain what the meme was. So the meme is so Trump, obviously, before he was president, he was a celebrity, and he did a whole bunch of things that in the entertainment business. So he went into the into WWE and started, doing this thing. People loved it. He was doing this whole thing. There was this one scene where he tackled some random dude and started hitting him when he was on the ground with him, and they photoshopped and they copied in CNN's logo on this person's face that he was attacking. What was the funny part and the ironic part is that this kid wasn't even the originator of the meme. He was just reposting it, and he got the flack for it. So that's like extra ironic. And to add insult to injury, he was a minor. So do with that information what you will, but it's scummy, and people still forgot about it. So they can get away with it because they got the shmoney. So who cares?
So actually, you know what? Speaking about corporations and stuff like that, let me guys ask you something. How do you guys feel about a certain content creator that you felt has become corporate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys ever dealt with that before? Like, maybe like a band or a content creator that you liked a lot, but then later they got bought out by a bigger company, and now because they're bought out by a bigger company, they have to like make their content a little bit more PG friendly because they want to please to the advertisers and whatnot. You know
I don't
what I'm
know.
talking about?
Linus
I don't-
Tech Tips.
Linus
What about
Tech Tips.
wait, what
Really?
what do you mean? Like, Linus has always been working with companies.
Yeah, but Linus
I always thought, like-
became like a huge conglomerate. No, originally he was like by himself.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, because he was working at a fucking store in Canada,
Yeah,
and like
NCIX.
there was a whole reason why he had to like leave, because like they were
They
like
were-
screwing him
yeah.
over, and he had like problems with the company. But that's sort of a, you know, a tale of a story right there. It's like this guy who originally he was just hired to be like, hey, you're gonna be our, you know, social media YouTube guy. We want you to like do, you know, product reviews and stuff like that, but keep it very basic, you know. And then he went off to do his own thing and stuff, right? But that's a tale, you know, that's a great tale to tell the people. It's like, hey, you know, be your own thing, right? But the reason I wanted to get this off my chest is because I was watching James Rolfe. If you guys probably know him as AVGN. Do you guys still watch AVGN, or do you guys like still keep up to date?
I've never watched AVGN in my entire life.
Never. Okay.
No, I stopped watching.
Marco's
I stopped watching him prior to him releasing his movie.
Prior to releasing his movie. Okay, yeah. I've been a fan of James for years. I admittedly kind of like fell off with him, not because of anything personal or anything like that. When the movie came out, I think I was like in the minority who probably wasn't looking forward to the movie. I still haven't seen it to this day, but I know it's like available on Prime Video, and I think it was on Tubi at one point. But aside that though, there was a video that he came out recently where he was talking about like the behind the scenes of Cinemassacre, and the main thing that really caught my eye was that he was addressing this thing about who he's working with right now, which is basically Screenwave Media. Now, Screenwave Media is one of those like MCN companies like Machinima back in the day, or Full Screen. You know, basically these companies come along and say, hey, we're going to help, you know, promote your channel. We're going to help you with production if you're good enough, blah, 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 blah. And James was doing this video where he was talking about how people were giving him shit because he was working with Screenwave Media, and they felt like, oh, you're not like really yourself anymore. You're working with all these people, blah, 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 blah. And James basically explained how I think it was like the proper way to approach. Like, look, guys, like, I get it. I understand. But you have to understand that I'm not only working on Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm working on other projects, and I need people to help me to make better content. And he showed out like how he had to like film his setup and stuff like that, because, you know, I've always had like a love-hate relationship between like James's like really bigger projects and his reviews. I think you know what I'm talking about, Marcos, right? Like before, like compared to like, you know, when he has like actors and props and things like that, it seems a little bit overwhelming. But that's sort of the balance I like about it, because like on one hand he could do a crazy ass episode with all these props and effects, and then the next episode be like very calm and cool.
Wait,
right?
what do you mean like actors and stuff? Because I stopped watching him years ago, so I don't know
Okay, like,
what's.
remember-
I haven't seen anything.
Remember
else.
the Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle episode where you had to get a guy dressed up as Bugs Bunny and they had to fight each other?
Oh, yeah.
And had to hit each other with That's what I'm talking about. So obviously when you're doing an episode like that, that's a lot of time, editing, scripting, things like that. So that's a lot of work, and it was just only one or two guys at the time. So it makes sense that that kind of stuff gets overwhelming. So you can't expect that caliber of content on every episode, especially for a web show that's from one guy in his 20s,
Yeah,
right?
but that's normal.
So what do you mean? it's
Like,
normal?
you obviously, what you describe about him doing something really, really big where he fights, it's something very, very theatric, and then he goes back to reviewing things. It's
Right. Well, there's a reason why I bring that up though, because he was addressing like questions and concerns that people are having, saying that it's like, hey, so like, why are your episodes have basically gotten like really basic lately, which I actually kind of like them more. He explains like, well, here's the thing though, when I'm filming, I'm all by myself, and I have all these different lights and cameras and stuff like that, and if I have to like do a different shot from a different angle, I have to move everything, and it's a whole setup, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, especially if you're on a crunch time and you got, you know, deadlines and corporations and sponsors you got to deal with, right? And the point I'm trying to get at with was the comment that he said about like him working with Screenwave, was that he said that like, look, guys, like I get it, but like here's the thing, I've always worked with people. I've worked with Game Trailers when he used to work with Screw Attack. People forget about that he was partnered with Screw Attack and Game Trailers, rest in peace Game Trailers, back in the day. And he's always had help from people, but people had like issues with Screenwave because like Screenwave was kind of like Machinima back in the day, where they would like get a bunch of content creators under their branch, but you know how like usual MCNs work. It's like if you're in the top dog, we'll give you all the attention and help you need. But if you're in the bottom, we're basically just going to be getting your money and going on our merry way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
what you expect for most like corporate media who wants to like, hey,
right, you're not going to get the same treatment as everyone else. Essentially,
Right.
is the basic what I'm getting at. So the reason why I brought this up is because it sort of brings up this thing that there's this moment for everybody, and I think that's like every like musician, content creator, YouTuber, streamer, anything like that. Or here's the thing: go on any fucking modern musician's Twitter account, right? Look up their tweet. They could tweet absolutely anything, and there's always some fucking schmuck in the comment section saying fell out, make better music, I prefer your earlier stuff. And I know that most of these people are trolls and they're just trying to get a rise out of you, but there are people out there who are just like, oh, I only liked this person back in the day before he sold out and things like that. Now I think that that is a fair criticism. I do believe that if you were bought out and your content sucks, but the thing is, though, you have to understand that there's a sense of evolution that needs to happen. You can't expect the same thing over and over and over again, because then it becomes stale, and then you're going to hate the person for being too stale at that point.
Well, I guess that's true, but I can't quite agree with your statement about people saying, oh, I prefer your music, your original music back the old, like when you first came out, contrast to now. I don't think that a lot of people say that to troll around. I say that because there's certain bands out there that obviously their original works were, I feel like, were superior than what they're doing now, but obviously they make the music they want to make now, and it still sells. It's still good music. I just think that the original stuff is at a higher caliber. Obviously, artist burns out as time goes on, so it does make sense that if you're not ahead of the curve, you're going to sound a little bit more like you're trying to stay relevant. But I get what you're coming from, but I can't quite agree about like everyone trying to be a troll.
Well, I mean, like the reason why I say they're trolls because they're using burner accounts. Like these accounts have like no fucking tweets other than just that. So
okay,
I think that's a fair assessment. Like it's not like me tweeting out that someone saying like I like your older music and it's like, oh, you're just trolling. Like no, dude, I have a legit account. But like that's what I'm saying is that like people have this idea where it's just like. Going back to what I meant to say was that there's these people who believe like they're like the OG fans, like they can only, you know, the content only has to please them, and then it's like, but that's not how this works. Like content creation is not just only exclusive to only one group of people. You want to appeal to the majority of people. Now, I do believe that there is certain content that is just not appealing to everyone, and that's normal. I think that that should be kind of understandable and expected. Not everybody is going to like jazz. Not everybody's going to like rap. Not everybody is going to like that, but to say that like, oh, I don't want you to evolve and I want you to do the same album you made 2 years ago is like, then I can't evolve and I can't get any better, and then you're going to complain I'm stale, you know?
I mean, that's why some bands do a 10-year anniversary when like their first big album comes out and they remaster it, or they well, what's the word where they take it back to the studio? Not take it back to the studio, but they clean it up.
Remastered.
They clean it up. It's like digitally remastered. That's what I mean.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is that evolution and progress is part of the process. And you telling people that like, oh, I liked it when you were recording in a 480p camcorder, you were so much better. Is like, yeah, I get it, I appreciate it, but you can't dictate me on how I need to grow and how I need to get better. Now, I appreciate you being as an OG fan, but to constantly shit talk on me and making it seem like, well, we're only doing this because we care about you, dude. Like, no, don't work with the people that are trying to help you. No, I prefer if you did everything all by yourself. And it's like, and like James explained, it's like, look, if I didn't have these people helping me out, I would make 3 videos a year, and then you guys would bitch and moan that I would be only making 3 videos a year. Like, I think, in my opinion, the general consensus with the Screenwave guys is that they're good. They're good people. They help him out with the production. They I don't feel like they're limiting him at any way. Like some people complain, like, oh, James doesn't curse in the first 30 seconds because of YouTube's like, what's the word I want to use? Restricted content, right? Basically, like they want to get their ads. I'm like, well, yeah. If someone had to tell me, like, hey, man, you got a lot of people under your payroll, and the only thing you got to do is not curse for the first 30 seconds. I fucking do it. I'm not going to make people go hungry and not paying them their check just because I want to say fuck in the first 30 seconds, you know?
Yep.
I think the only one I think Kenny and I can relate to, I'm not sure about you, Daniel, but Red versus Blue became a lot more like corporate, I guess, because the original thing.
Yeah, I know about those guys.
Yeah. So
what happened with Red versus Blue? Give me like the broad strokes.
I'm not
I
sure
know of
too
the
much
show.
About it, though.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't
I-
really
but like what
watch
happened
all
that
much. So they originally started out as like a small company, pretty much. You know, it was just a couple guys and making Halo skits and stuff like that. It got real big, and once it started to get real big, I guess Machinima must have reached out to him. I don't really know the actual details. This is more of assumption.
But now Rooster Teeth owns it, right? So because I know it's on Verve.
Yeah,
last time I saw Red versus.
It is Rooster Teeth that owns it, and it's also Machinima. But it was always Rooster Teeth that made the content, and Machinima was the people that were providing the money.
Right.
And obviously,
Damn, they have over 300 episodes. Holy shit.
Yes. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like what changed more for Marcos and I would have been Vanos Gaming, even though he never really like got into company esque things. I feel like his content started lacking after 2012.
Well, with Vanos, it's a little bit different because one, obviously, everyone knew the Vanos crew. Like you had, like obviously, Mini Lad, Wildcat, Delirious, Nogla.
Oh yeah, I've
right?
seen a lot of those guys as documentaries.
Right. So the thing is that Vanos got into music. That's the thing he always wanted to do, was to get into music, and he has said the music as a little side thing. But much like with Filthy Frank, where he just stopped doing Filthy Frank and went straight to music, it wasn't because of corporate. It was just a corporate change. It was more about what he really wanted. Vanos still does. Right. He still does games
videos, but it's not at the same caliber as it used to be, especially the comedy that he used to have in his videos.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like, obviously, one thing I've noticed was with Vanos specifically, it was because I don't watch him. I've never watched him specifically, his channels, all that often. I watched everyone else's because they tend to like not censor themselves as much. So one thing was that obviously rewatching the videos that they had, it's not as funny to me anymore because it's probably because either I'm older or I just don't care about it too much. But when it comes to like Wildcat, like his new stuff is like way better than his old stuff. Obviously, certain catchphrases are no longer existent, but if you want some of the same old stuff, much like how Daniel described it, it's not. He had to continue moving and making new stuff, so he doesn't have to seem so stale. So right. I don't think his content for like Vanos got worse. I just think that with all the nonsense that's been happening with his group of circle, his close circle, when it comes to all these other channels, as well as him doing music, it's just a lot to do. So he still does make a good amount of stuff. If anything, when he plays Among Us, he gets like really serious when it comes to like getting like into it. But when he plays like GTA, when he does play GTA, if he goes back to it, it's still his old childish boyish attitude because it's GTA. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. I
just looked up on the Vanos crew wiki, and they have like a whole page of like all the people that were there. I've seen documentaries on, let's see, Wrecker. I know about this guy. I know about the Mini Lad accusation.
Accusation? I don't know so much about accusation. He came out and said it's true.
No, he confirmed it. Yeah. No, I just, I got to be PR friendly about it. I did remember. I did watch a lot of documentaries about this crew. I never watched any of their content, but yeah, it's kind of crazy out and crazy. But what are you saying, Kenny? I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't say anything. That was Marcos that was saying something.
Yeah. So
okay, my bad.
So when it comes to like, Red versus Blue became a little bit more corporate. I've never stopped watching a channel just because they got more corporate. I just stopped watching it because I just forgot about it. One thing I will say though is I'm not sure if you guys know about this channel called Nerdists, and they have this sub show called Because Science, and they had this host called Kyle Hill. The show was getting super popular to the point where like they got so dang popular that they made a separate channel just called Because Science, and it was still under the banner of the company Nerdist, right? But then something happened, and they either Kyle quit or they fired him. But I stopped watching Because Science because, well, he's no longer there, so I just left, and there was no reason to keep watching it, and they've lost a lot of subscribers. And Kyle Hill made his own channel. It's under the name Kyle Hill, and I watch his stuff. Obviously, it's a lot different because he went from corporate to not corporate, but under a something with a lot more funding and a lot more like a bigger budget to do every episode, every live stream, every whatnot, to doing his own thing, which obviously is not the same, you could see the quality differences. And I watch his new stuff on his own channel. That's why I go from one channel to another. I stopped watching a channel overall, because the person that I went there originally for is just not there anymore. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like people need to understand that sometimes it's just the personality and the content you're producing. Because no matter how good your camera is, your lighting, or everything like that, if your content is dog shit or not clickbaitable, it's just not going to succeed. It's just not going to like really take off. And I think that's sort of the difficulty about the situations. Like, well, you want to do your own thing and a company wants to come along and fund you for it. But then later now you're like, okay, yeah, I'll take this money from you, Coca-Cola. But then Coca-Cola comes in and says, hey, you got to have a Coca-Cola bottle next to you. Okay, I'll do that. And then later Home Depot comes along and says, hey, you got to wear a Home Depot shirt every time you do it. But I can't wear a Home Depot shirt for the shot. Well, you're taking our money, so you got to do it. So it's a balancing act you really got to achieve about, like, you know, continuing on what makes people enjoy your content, but also evolving, but not, and taking the benefits of being corporate, but out like diminishing your quality. Because I've seen that happen.
Kind of like how I know I'm bringing up Linus Tech Tips again, but I'm also going to be bringing up Nexus, or Gamers Nexus, and like Bit with Kyle, and Jay's 2 Cents, and Austin Evans, how they do like these 30-second ads in their video that are sponsored. And you know, that's a better way to approach it, in my opinion, rather than having to wear some form of marketing that people want in the background.
Right. It's one of those things that's like, you have to find that balancing act. Like, is this deal gonna improve my quality, or it's gonna censor me, or it's gonna like reduce the quality? Like, yeah, I'll be able to produce more content and upload more often, but if my quality is dog shit, people are just not gonna stick around. And you know, Kenny was bringing up Red versus Blue. I could bring another example. I probably mentioned the show a bunch of times, but I used to watch this show called RB and the Chief. Very simple show. I'm talking about like 2008 production. I'm talking about dog shit camera, fucking Xbox Vision camera memes, old show, right? And it was just a show about this guy who used to have like these, you know, figures that were talking, right? They used to use Microsoft Sam and Microsoft Mike voices. And the show kept going on, and then they had like this big end game movie to kind of like send off the show on a good note. Machinima came along, because he was working with Machinima to that point, but Machinima said, hey, we want to keep working on the show for you. He's like, okay, well, fine. If you want to do that, Machinima, that's perfectly fine. You want to do it? So they did this another series called RB and the Chief in LA. And I brought this up earlier. It's like, you know, no matter how good your camera quality is, or your mics, or your lighting, it doesn't mean anything if your personality or the acting, it is dog shit. Because you think with a show that all it is just a bunch of action figures being voiced by Microsoft Sam and Microsoft Mike, you think that the production would just be better, right? But like the sense of humor was so off, and it just felt unfitting, that the show flopped. And it was called, granted, it was a second sub-series called RB and the Chief in LA, but even though it had like the best camera at the time and the best everything, it fucking sucked. It bombed like really, really, really hard. Like, it bombed so badly that they said, hey, do you want to come back and just make your own show again? And that's what the guy did. You know, he came along and he said, all right, man, I'll keep making RB and the Chief. And then when Machinima went down under, he kept making RB and the Chief like by himself. But I didn't know about this for years. I didn't know he kept doing RB and the Chief. To put in perspective, he did RB and the Chief when like Halo 3 was still new. He kept doing RB and the Chief until Fortnite came out, and I was like blown away by it. I said, holy shit, this guy's still making this content, and it's so much better. Now, granted, it has aged a little bit, but I still find it as a comfort show. You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing about the thing about content creation. You know, you want to entertain people, you want to bring quality content to people, but sometimes you need help by these bigger corporations. But sometimes, you know, these help is tied behind some limitations and rules, and especially when you factor in like, okay, when I got to work with people and these people got to get paid and they got to eat and they got to feed their families and shit like that, now you kind of have to be like, well, damn, how this is going to affect my content is, you know, is the bigger question.
I've never heard of RB and the Chief.
I've heard of it, but
I reckon
I've never really watched it.
It's pretty good. I like it a lot. It's still one of those shows that I go back to watch every day. Not every day, but like every once in a while, and it reminds me like the simpler times, when like Xbox 360s and Dazzles were like the norm for your machinima setup.
Here's
Oh,
my
right,
thing,
Dazzles.
Like, what's it called? I've just never really been big into watching these, like TV shows essentially on YouTube or anything like that. I've always been more of an informational type of guy where I like to absorb information from the content that I'm watching rather than just nonsense.
I don't think I've watched a lot of the early YouTube because like I've seen a couple things from like big names back then, like Tobuscus before he got falsely accused of
Like
whatever he
Crazy
did.
Frog.
Oh, this crazy frog! But like when it came to
The hamster
Oh my
dance
God,
meme.
man, those freaking
hamster
man.
dance. But when it came,
I missed the early years of the internet, man. Like not early.
I used to watch a whole bunch of YouTube poop when I was.
Oh yeah, they still make those,
I used to
but
watch
they're
a lot of Manslayer.
Oh,
Manslayer.
I still haven't watched Ruby, even though I was like, I know everyone's still talking about it.
I have a friend of mine who adores it. Shout out to my boy Soul. I know he loves that show, and I still need to give it a watch.
I don't think I'll ever watch it.
Me either. But like I said, I will
Manslayer.
never watch like. I mean, I can sit down and watch YouTube poop, but it gets annoying to me. I can sit down,
but it's got to be
watch-
good YouTube poop though.
I can sit down and watch like one thing of like Red versus Blue, but I can't sit there and watch 20 episodes of Red versus Blue. A lot of the humor is just really dry in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a certain taste sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's not even just like big productions like shows or things like that. It could just be, like I said, AVGN or game reviewers, for example. Like, some people complain about, like, oh my God, this guy I used to watch back in the day when he was on, when he was making unemployment checks and recording from his mom's basement. Now he has a Manscaped ad. What a fucking sellout. And I'm like, do you want this fucker to eat or not?
No,
what the fuck is your
people just
problem?
want what they want, and that's it. Like, I understand you need, ad revenue, but ad revenue is not enough.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Well, that's why you have sponsors and
Exactly.
other business. Yeah, like
Well,
oh
why
yeah,
do
that's
NASCAR
what I'm saying.
drivers
Like
need sponsors, it's the exact same.
Fucking hell.
Exact same philosophy with YouTubers.
yeah, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I got bills to pay. I got to do this and that. Now, granted, I understand when I bring up money in the internet and content creation, some people bring up like DSP, for example, is just like begs for money and stuff. And yeah, hey, dude, honestly though, if it were up to me, I'd rather Schmuck would do a 30-minute, not 30 minutes, but like a 30-second ad about Manscaped, and then he gets his light bill paid, rather than constantly begging for money all the goddamn time.
I mean, a lot of people are always asking to donate to the Patreon for extra content, but that's just another form of them holding.
Yeah, that's just me saying like, hey guys, if we have a Patreon, you get all these cool benefits, and if you want to support me, you can support me that way. Because believe it or not, there are people out there who are just like, hey, I like this content creator. I want to support this content creator. I want to get early access to their content and things like that. Like, if you could make a Patreon worth it, I think people will do it. Fucking hell, don't even get me started with OnlyFans.
Well, I think that's where our podcast is going to be going as OnlyFans.
Oh yeah,
Because
for
that's
sure.
all Danny Hint
I found that
is just OnlyFans instead of Patreon.
Hell yeah.
Well, we got to. We'll see with our business contacts and see which is the proper approach to go with
I
it.
got no hate for those who are OnlyFans. You gotta make the grind. Go right ahead. The market.
Hey man,
the market's
listen.
bright.
Listen, man. What's funny? Like, whenever these girls like promote their OnlyFans, all these dudes will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, get a job," and then these bitches will be like, "Well, dude, I'm making like 4 times than you make."
It's literally a job. That's their job.
That's their job. I respect it. Hey, man,
That's
it's a
their
hustle.
job
You
to
know
be
what?
a
People
hoe.
want titties. You got titties. I respect it. Look, this is the land of opportunities. People want shit, and people are willing to pay for it. Do what you want to do, man.
But when they call themselves entrepreneurs, I'm like, I mean, really? Are you sure about
It's a
that?
nice title to have.
Yeah,
Not
to
what
make
I'm adult entertainer.
for the feel good point. I wouldn't call them entrepreneurs because they're obviously under the label of OnlyFans. I would just call them just that.
Well, I mean, like, not everybody does OnlyFans, does porn. I found out that Matthew Santoro does OnlyFans. You remember
That's
that
a
guy?
name I haven't heard in a while, dude.
Yeah, me either. It turns out, yeah, you know what? You know, we were bringing up evolution in content. That's a good example. The guy got higher production quality because he hired these people, but then he found out that the 2015 era of like top 10 lists from Watch Mojo or the creepy pasta content
got so annoying after a while.
It got stale. Then that's what I'm talking about.
Really?
Evolution is a necessity because
you guys found out
if
annoying?
you keep doing,
I liked it. I just stopped getting recommended videos from him, so I stopped watching
why
it.
do you think that? Why do you think that? Because people stopped watching it, and you stopped watching it. That's why YouTube doesn't recommend it to you anymore.
Well, I think most of anything.
In a while, and I'm just like, oh god, no.
I mostly stopped watching top 10s because I started, or these lists because I started watching other things. So that's why like it stopped going overall. Like,
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, you got to look at everything through an algorithm. You got to be like, okay, if person is watching content A and less content C, don't push content C because we're not gonna get this guy to click on that video anymore. But like, yeah, going back to Matthew, like he was complaining that like, oh, I hired all these people to help the production. I need to make like $600 every video and blah 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 blah. And then he had to make an OnlyFans on the side. But just really sad because when he started doing Twitch to make up for the money, he's really entertaining. And it's like, dude, Matt, you're not the problem. It's the topic you're doing that's really really outdated and not entertaining anymore. People move the fuck on. It's not 2015 anymore. Like, just because you have a higher production 2015 content in 2021, it's just not going to do well anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Evolution is a necessity. And I get it. Evolution is not a straightforward path. Some people try out new things and it doesn't work out. That's fine. But that's why it's not always a one time you roll the dice. You got to keep rolling that dice until you eventually get the number you want.
Speaking of evolution, Elon Musk is planning on launching a satellite that displays ads in space. So,
hell,
dude, how much is it going to cost for us to like get our ad up there? Dude, listen, I'm willing to sacrifice my firstborn. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
Here, I'll give you my left nutsack.
All right, Marcos, give me your right.
Your right nutsack, Marcos. We have two.
Yeah.
I already gave it away. Get wrecked.
Fuck. Okay, give me the left one. I'll give him my right.
I'm a eunuch at this point. Don't you understand? I got nothing there.
Damn. All right. Well, that's the problem. Well, yeah. So we gotta. How much is it gonna cost to get our podcast sponsored on the Elon Mario Galaxy ass fucking satellite?
I don't know about putting advertisements, period, like that, unless it's a digital space. Because
dude.
All I know is that he's gonna give Wi-Fi to everyone and ads. I mean, this guy's thinking above and beyond. He's gonna give Wi-Fi to the whole world and advertisement to the whole world.
All from space.
Every time you connect to the free Wi-Fi, you're gonna have to watch a fucking Tesla ad.
Mm-hmm. What is it? The Cybertruck? We're gonna be driving that shit in space, man. Like, there's gonna be space roads.
That looks like a Halo truck that.
It does look like a Halo truck.
That looks like a Halo truck that has the low LED model.
Hey, Kenny, that's how I know Daniel doesn't play. Kenny, that's how I know Daniel doesn't play Halo, because he called it a Halo truck and not the Warthog.
Well, I mean, like a truck from the Halo universe, as I would describe it. Because I don't imagine everybody in the universe drives fucking Warthogs.
The meme came about because it looked like a Warthog. That was the meme.
It does look like a Warthog.
It really does.
And we're going to be driving it on the space roads, going to the space moon. Not just moon.
To the space rocks.
Not just the moon, the space moon. And then
the other space rocks in space.
We're going to go to, freaking all the other rocks in the sky that, haven't hit us yet.
So we're going to hit them first.
Maybe.
All I know is that we got to terraform Mars, so then we could put people there, and then we could put ads in there.
And then the Doomslayer comes in and he's like, what are you guys doing?
Isn't that crazy that Mars is just going to be our plan B in like a million years? Cause,
yeah, but even if the sun expands, like, it's still going to eat Mars with it.
We're all going to die.
Well, that's billions of years in the future. I said million, not billions.
Yeah, fuck those
Jesus
kids.
Christ, you guys are thinking way ahead. You got to relax. All I'm saying is...
what do you think?
What?
Let's get philosophical here real quick, chat. Let's get philosophical. Do you think we are the final step of evolution? No.
Big robots.
I don't think so.
Big robots is the final step.
You think so? Do you think that's going to be our final step? You think we're just going to be all brains and robots?
Jesus.
I don't think, honestly, transferred consciousness might not be a thing of any
Oh,
generations
I don't
going
think
on.
Marcos does think, but
Okay, actually, wait, hold on.
Because-
That's a good question. All right, I've always been fascinated with that, with the transfer of conscious stuff. Okay, do you think if someone was able to transfer their consciousness into an AI and that could never die and is like uniform and could work on anything from a toaster to a refrigerator to
why are
the
we talking
fucking
about
space
Antidot from
telescope?
Halo Reach?
Hell yeah.
Who the fuck is? I don't know who the fuck that is.
It's someone very pivotal to the Halo series.
Oh, okay, so like that's a good question. Do you think you achieve immortality at that point?
Technically,
I think you're
yes.
no, you're
Because I think
you
so.
wouldn't. Okay, so here's the problem.
Like physically, you'll be dead, but I mean,
there's
like,
there's three forms of, I guess, immortality. There's two big ones, and then one that's not so talked about. One of them is like you won't die because of time, you won't die because of injuries, and then you won't die because of sickness, and that affects your internal organs and whatnot. That's not physical damage. That's like,
oh, like Dr. House,
so like
not Dr. House, but Mr. House. There you go.
I guess if you Mr. House has extended. He didn't. Mr. House from New Vegas didn't transfer his consciousness to a
He
computer.
didn't die, but he's like keeping himself alive.
Yeah, he still has his body, so that wouldn't count. But if you get rid of the flesh, if you want to be transhuman into transhumanism, cool, do your thing. But I think at one point or another, everyone has to come to the reality of like, hey, like I'm getting tired of this party. I think it's time to go. And even then, you could be long lasting in your life, but much like the materials you were made out of, they decay as well. So imagine if you lived in this AI body, in this AI thing where you're just in robot all the time. Materials goes away, and let's just say the heat universe,
Yeah,
the heat death of the universe does happen.
Cortana traveled across the space
Yeah.
to the Shield world.
But isn't she always been an AI though? Like,
Cortana's
she's never
always
been.
been an AI, and then she touched Master Chief for the very first time.
Yeah, but even then-
spoilers. These are all spoilers. Just so everybody knows.
Wait, are you talking about the plot from Code Lyoko where the dude made his waifu real?
Well, I mean,
I
she
mean-
always existed.
I mean,
No, she gave her. No, he gave her a flesh and body.
well, it's not to that extent. Like Cortana manifests herself into an actual, like, not into a person, but into a larger being, other than just a very small AI that he can hold in his hand.
A big girl.
And then she traveled across
became-
time and space and made it to the, I forgot the name of the place that she made it to, but it made her immortal essentially.
Yeah, but even then,
Okay.
I don't think true immortality is a thing. And even at some point, if
If we
hypothetically
become
speaking,
digitally, like if we become digital, like to the point where physically we don't need anything other than, I wouldn't even say electricity. I mean, we just exist.
Like we're self-preserved
So
in
we
the
would
sort of way
become
that.
protons from Futurama, you know, the ones that just walk or float around. They don't walk; they float around and just speak.
yeah, I think the issue comes in with infinite energy, and just that doesn't work.
Yeah,
There's going
that's
to be an end at some point.
That's true.
So that's one thing that you
Okay,
can't
so let's
avoid.
break it down simpler. Let's say you're dying and you have a body that is, about to collapse, but someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, we could take your consciousness and upload it to a network, and you could basically consciously be living infinite lives as you want, and you could be in robots, and you could constantly move yourself from different robots forever and ever." Do you consider that
I
immortality?
think this is also no. I don't think
What about
that
a
would
sex
be
bot? Would
immortality.
you be able to go into a sex bot? Because that would be a very
Fuck yeah.
traumatic experience for some people.
So
Well, you could always transfer their consciousness.
I think this is also hops into the discussion about people who are transgendered. So I guess this is sort of the same thing, because if I put you, someone who identifies as a male, into your brain and your consciousness into a female's body, into a human female's body, and you know that you're a guy, you're gonna feel out of place. So I think the problem with going into a robot is twofold. One, if you're an old man and someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, sign this paper and we're going to transfer your consciousness over," is your consciousness the same and still bounded by that same brain that's been decaying and it's no longer in its prime? How is that transfer of consciousness going to work? Are you now are you only limited by the hardware that you're bound by. It's something that's very, very complicated. And if you can transfer consciousness in the first
I mean, I
place,
get where you're coming from. Yeah, by that example, like you might have dementia, you might be getting old.
but that's
you
a
might get
hardware
Alzheimer's.
issue, not a software issue, right? There's the brain, and then there's the mind, right? The mind is you.
Right.
Your brain is just the.
So are
hardware
you saying
for
that
it.
like, what if you're self-conscious and you're self-aware that you're in a robotic body?
I think
or
at some point.
Okay, let me put it like this. Remember that stupid plot line in Shadow the Hedgehog where Shadow thought he was a robot?
What?
Let's put it like
What does
that.
that to do with what?
No, remember when Shadow thought that at one point he was a robot?
Yeah, and he started killing all the other shadow robots and everyone who caused them to be
And then
robots.
he-
Yeah, what about it?
And then he said like, I am Shadow Android. Like he's self-aware that he's a robot.
Which
like
is
with that plot-
non-canon because
What
it's
is
one of
this,
the
Android
weird.
I know.
17 and Android 17?
No, they're
Well,
not.
they know
no,
they're
No,
robots.
they're cyborgs. They're not androids.
They're cyborgs,
They're
yeah.
cyborgs.
You're right.
Why do they
But I mean, like,
call
okay,
them
how about
androids?
this though? What about in Fallout, where it's like you have the fucking
synths.
the synths who believe that some of them are robots or they don't know they're robots.
All right. So at the end of the day, I think when it comes to, there's going to be a point for everyone where they're just like, I think it's time to go, because it's one thing about being human where it's you. Obviously, when you're younger, you don't have this mentality. I guess it's for most people, but when you get older, you have this whole idea of like, yeah, I think I'm okay with this, about not being alive anymore, because like you just come to terms with it. But when it comes to immortality, in the sense of like you get to live for hundreds of thousands of years, I think the issue comes up with. What are you bounded by? What makes you now? You now have to get accustomed to this new body of yours. Now you can no longer, obviously the natural path of a human is obviously you start growing up, you start doing your puberties and all that stuff, and then you seek out to biologically reproduce, and then you just live out your life taking care of everything. So now you're in this body that's no longer yours, and it's no longer human, right? Now it's just like much like what was it, Detroit Become Human,
Yeah,
whatever
I
that game
gonna
was
bring
called.
I was gonna bring that one up.
Yeah.
Imagine you're in a body just like that, but unless they just like mimic the exact like clone of your body, exactly how you've known it to be for right now. For me, it's going to be 2 decades and a half, right? They make an exact clone of my body. If it weren't just for that, I'll feel weird because I'm used to like, hey, this vein here, or my fingertips being exactly the way that they are, or the way my hands look, or the way like
The way
your brain is
the
just used to
shaft
that.
Curves. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, your brain is just naturally just used to that. That's why it is what it is. So it's a philosophical
But
discussion.
you don't think by like 200 years though, you wouldn't get adjusted by being that kind of free flowing and like being able to be as morphative as you want?
that is I'm talking about the beginning. I'm talking about the very beginning where
Right. I know that at first it's going to feel weird. I'm pretty sure that's to be expected. But I'm saying like, let's say you could live hundreds of years like that.
that's the issue. I'm pretty sure you can get used to it. My issue still is like getting used to it, and maybe you can get like a free trial where you can do it temporarily. It's like,
Free
hey,
trial.
like we make So think about it like this.
Yeah,
they
just
make
upload your freaking brain into something else, but then we'll reload it back into your old body.
Yeah, think of like VR, except to the point where you actually are in a different body because you're playing a video game. Think about it like that, like VR, where they make
So it'll be basically like you're playing VR, but you're playing as a different
playing
character.
or they make an exact copy of you that looks just like you, physically speaking, but doesn't feel like you, and you get used to being in something else, and you could sort of just keep on going. That's what I mean by that's one way of like, instead of giving you straight from 0 to 100, they take you
That
slowly,
sounds
gradually
like,
into virtual reality.
Sounds like the Orion
Sword Art-
project with
Sword Art Online, dude.
sounds
that
like the
freaking game.
Orion
I was gonna say,
project
like,
from, Halo when they stole all those Spartan 2s when they were kids, and they cloned them essentially, and then
Well, I
replaced
think being
them.
a clone comes with its own existential stuff that it's its own problem. But when it comes to this transferring your
Yeah.
body, I think it's more about, can you actually just with a snap of your fingers, you being comfortable with who you are as a person, whether if you're fit, obese, you're old, you're young, regardless, you are you, a guy or a girl or whatever you identify as. You are comfortable being you. You're comfortable in your own skin. Some people have the privilege to say that they're comfortable in their own skin. They like who they are. So I guess the way you can gradually, I guess, convince the public to say like, hey, like this is how we want to do transhumanism by transferring your body into an android of sorts. They get you to the virtual reality where you get used to being in your body that looks just like you but doesn't feel like you. So you trick your brain a little bit. So I mean, yeah, how do you get rid of that? Maybe it's part of the consciousness, maybe it's part of the brain. Who knows? But I don't think it's possible at all.
I think it's possible. The human brain can adapt to a lot of things. If you fuck up your leg or something, you just start learning how to walk with your
Right,
leg.
but I'm talking about consciousness as a whole, not being.
I know. Yeah, I know it's a bigger scale, but I don't know. I've always been fascinated with that sort of thing. Like, I was bringing up like Fallout, for example. Like, what about Tranquility Lane with Dr. Brahm? Like, the humane thing to do is to kill everyone, but let him die alone, or never die, essentially. In Tranquility Lane, and they ask him, like, why didn't you just get out? I was like, dude, I've been in a fucking pod for 200 years being sustained by machines. The moment I step out, my entire body would collapse.
I mean,
So that's what I'm saying.
what's that?
Like,
Go ahead.
no, I was just thinking about what you said about, like, well, what if in a situation, like, let's say every time you die, you wake up in a different body, and then your memory is wiped from the last body, and then you just live your life again as a different personality in a different body.
Then that's not a. It becomes a.
I wouldn't consider that immortality, because then you forget that you lived up to that
I wouldn't
point.
call it immortality
It's
in the
more
first
of
place
like
because
reincarnation.
yeah, but
That
I
too.
wouldn't call
Yeah,
it. I wouldn't call anything immortality because there is a. Again, time must have had some sort of beginning, because it exists today. Obviously, if time were infinite, technically today wouldn't happen because there is the end, and infinity has no end. So therefore, if today is the end, or like it's currently happening, there has to be a beginning. We already know that there's going to be a heat death of the universe because there's only because of thermodynamics. That's just how it is. The sun is gonna expand, like what we discussed before, and then it's gonna blow up and turn itself into a white dwarf. Who knows? All I'm saying is everything will eventually give off its energy. Once it's done, it's gonna dissipate. That being said, if you look at the trillions of years that's gonna pass, eventually it's just gonna be all just dark nothingness. So being immortality in the truest sense, I don't think so. But being the ability to transfer consciousness and you are no longer limited by the ailments of the flesh when it comes to being injured or being sick, sure, I guess you can call that some sort of,
Yeah.
immortality. But it's something that obviously people way smarter than us have discussed before. And I think it's something that it's a rather interesting topic for another day.
Yeah, it's a very philosophical thing. I've always just been fascinated with that idea, is that, like, what do you consider it? Like, the idea of, like, no longer being bound by flesh and bone. And it's like, how do I, live forever or live longer than most people expect? And it's just like, well, what if you could just move your brain into a computer, and then later you don't got to worry about that anymore? Now, granted, you got viruses and electricity you got to worry about, but we'll get to that step later,
Right.
Or let's say in this idea was like you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Shodan from System Shock. Like, imagine if Shodan, I know she wasn't a human, but she was like this virus that's like, if I get uploaded to the satellite dish, I go everywhere in the universe and nothing could kill me, essentially, because I can't be contained.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll leave to that philosophy later. Kenny, you were bringing this up earlier. I know that you're a victim of ransomware now. Can you tell that to the audience?
I don't know about ransomware, him specifically.
Yeah, I wasn't a victim of it, but extension.
Everyone's a victim.
I'm a victim of it because me and anybody else that has done an RMA or is attempting to do an RMA with Gigabyte right now, the RMA website and the warranty website are both down. It used to be with the support website as well. Apparently there was a data breach in Gigabyte's infrastructure, and there's hackers that had retrieved, I think it was AMD, Intel, and there was one more company. I think it was American. I can't remember the name right now. I'd have to look it up. Anyways, they took down a server in HQ, and it ended up being obviously the ones that I've listed. Well, they got the support site running, but they still haven't recovered RMA or the warranty website, which kind of irks me because I sent in my graphics card a week ago, and I can't even check up on the status of my RMA just because of that. Oh,
So can we get some F's in the comments, please?
The third company was American Megatrends. But
What?
the people that did it or did the hacking was Ransom EXX, and it's 112 gigabytes of data from Gigabyte. So, I mean, that's not like a little bit; it's a lot. And I mean, Gigabyte hasn't really come out and said like officially that it's from these people, but there are notes and emails and screenshots of these documents and their emails out there for them to negotiate, essentially. But yeah, it's been affecting.
We don't
It's
negotiate.
been affecting me and plenty of other people. I finally found a Reddit thread that has the exact same issues that I've been having because some other gentleman had sent in his 3080 Ti and he's just nervous about it because he hasn't been able to get on the website. I mean, I'm trying to get on it right now and it says 502 bad gateway. So it's been like that for a week.
Yeah, that's just can't catch a break.
Nope.
No, it's just one thing after another.
I know, man. Oh, your graphics card died because of Halo? No problem. Send in the RMA. RMA died? Okay, no problem. Now you're dead. It's like, geez. There's nothing I can do to mitigate the situation. I've tried calling, and it's frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, I hope your issue gets resolved quickly and peacefully, and hopefully nothing bad comes out of this whole situation, because that sucks. That really fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's not great to say the least. But yeah.
Now
I mean,
I'm concerned about my Gigabyte 3080 Ti
And now
yeah,
we
you
start
haven't even
sweating.
started using it yet. So how are you going to be worried?
because I'm
about it?
scared.
No, it's
Yeah,
not because you're
that's a
scared.
good
It's because you
cons-
haven't gotten the parts or the freaking
No, because I'm scared.
the computer case that you need.
I was scared to turn on my computer because it might get viruses.
There you go.
What do you have? Don't you have an ASUS GPU in your setup now?
Yeah,
GPU?
I do.
Yeah, it's a ASUS Phoenix 3060.
Yes,
Yeah, I took
3060.
some DX diags in my time.
That's what I have.
TX diags. Yeah, I sent one into what was it, Halo, so that they can give me the infinite beta, or not a beta, but the tech preview, because it's required in order for you to sign up for the PC version of the game.
Just so they could get an idea of like what specs you're
Yep,
using.
and I didn't even get to play it on my computer, so.
That sucks.
Oh my god, dude! Like, I wish Gigabyte was a little more reliable than, hey, your graphics card pooped on itself, and then now our RMA website's gonna poop on itself. So you're welcome.
You just can't catch a break, man. It's just a shitty luck you have.
Oh, I know. It's the luck of the draw. I presume. I mean, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, keep us up to date. Hopefully, we get your stuff gets fixed and you get your new graphics card up and running. You have whenever Halo Infinite comes out in 2 years. So look forward to that.
2 years.
Oh man, but yeah, this has been a very interesting episode, a very philosophical episode. I like that. I like getting a little bit more engaging because I like to have crackpot theories and sound like a crazy person on for you people
Don't
to
worry,
enjoy
Danny,
and document.
That's how you already sound. So.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Soon I'll start making my game theory episodes. Don't worry, we'll get to that spick later.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap everyone. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the DKM podcast and to my insane ramblings. I appreciate that. If you haven't yet, follow us on Twitter at DKM. DKM on Twitter. You also have a Discord server that we would love to have you guys to come along and, you know, tell us what you think about the show or what we can do. We definitely want to have you guys around if we ever start doing some fun events or game nights and things like that. So keep an eye out for that. Just so you guys know, you can watch us here on YouTube or you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else where you have your streaming services that lets you listen to podcasts. I think that's everything we have to say, unless you guys want to say some closing words before we go.
The blizzard thickens.
Yes.
Marcos? I think at the end of the day, all I care about is virtual reality. Virtual reality where I can become a fried chicken. That's all I care about. That's all I want.
Fried Chicken Simulator. You got that, guys. Come on. Let's see Fried Chicken Simulator hit early access.
In game development, that's the very first game I'm going to create.
All right, Kenny. Well, we'll look forward to that, and we'll be promoting it here on the podcast.
Sounds good to me.
But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap that up while Kenny go ahead and gets that design doc ready for Fried Chicken Simulator.
You're gonna be able to shoot fried chickens out of your fried chicken out of your bucket.
Wait
a minute. I need to make this a KFC bucket and then have fried chicken.
Damn it! Now you gotta worry. Well, you know, at least you could approach to Colonel Sanders and be like, "Hey, you want to make a? You know, you already made a dating sim game, so I think we can make a little bit of an arcade shooter on this." Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm still waiting for it. I paid some shady guy for a pre-order and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. I hope he didn't skimp out on it. You better not give me that Taco Bell machine. Anyways, thank you so much for watching or listening. Take care, stay safe, and have a good one. Until next time. See you later.